David Harder in the studio. We've got a lot of conversation going on Friday with a couple from the town of Owego, Stephen and Cindy Dunlap, who told us what happened at their home. They're actually not too far into Tioga County, just a little bit over the Broome County line, a little bit west of the county line. But they had the type of event that happened, or hopefully would never happen in anyone's life. Both of them wound up being pulled over by police, and their home was searched. Search warrants were signed by, in one case, the Broome County Judge Joseph Cawley the night before, and then the morning of the raid, there was a warrant signed by Tioga County Judge Gerald Keene. Now, it turns out, despite the effort to find meth-related ingredients or evidence of gun running or currency from illicit activities, none of that was found. In fact, these people look kind of like people I would hang out with at church. I mean, seriously, or people I'd go out with, for pizza or wings. And I know you didn't hear the interview.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so but you have seen the story that we posted on our website. We also had posted the audio of their interview because it's quite a compelling story. Tell us what you know or what you can about this case involving the Dunlaps.
Well, I know very little. I mean, I knew there was a search warrant going to be executed, possibly in Tioga County. I didn't realize that two judges had signed the warrant. I heard that through the task force. And then I heard later that the task force executed the search warrants and came up with nothing. And other than that, there's not much more I can tell you that I know.
Does that happen very often?
No. It does happen at times. You get into drug dealers' houses even, and you find nothing. Sometimes they have a stash or they've sold everything, and you just can't find it. But it does happen once in a while. Usually you turn up stuff, though.
Now, you can understand, and since you didn't hear Steve and Cindy Dunlap express or describe their scenario in their own words, but you can understand why they felt terrorized by the events of that night.
Well, I understand, people aren't used to that happening, of course. It would be any different than myself if I was out there. I don't have a lot of information, so I can't speak on it a lot, and I don't want to get tied down to making comments that aren't warranted for it.
Do you think they deserve an apology?
I don't know what happened that night. I would think, I've done it before, gone into houses and end up backing out and saying sorry. And sometimes the people aren't home when you go in them and you leave a message.
Well, when they're not home, do you go through the front door with a battering ram?
Oh, yes.
Sometimes, yeah. Because that was another thing. I mean, they brought her back after they pulled her over on the highway. She went out looking for her husband when one of his buddies called and said, "Hey, we're here over in Owego for pizza. Where's Steve? When's he coming?" She immediately, because again, this was in the early part of February, so it was still cold and snowy. She feared he had been in a crash. He had no information, so they wouldn't let him even contact her to at least let her know he was okay. Inexplicably detained, but at least he wasn't hurt. And they did take her back to the house while he was being held over at the Tioga Public Safety Building for 2 or 3 hours, and they did agreed to her request not to go through the front door with the battering ram. The front door was unlocked, so they went in, and unfortunately, you see the picture of their little dog there, their little dachshund?
Yep.
So their little dog was okay. She curled up in her little puppy bed while they searched the place, and they said, "We're going easy on you." So apparently at some point when they were going through the place, they came to the realization we probably aren't going to find meth or illegal guns or anything like that, and so they didn't wreck the place.
Well, I can't comment too much on that. I mean, we don't always use the battering ram to get in. People do leave doors unlocked, or we get a key from somebody, we go in. Battering rams are used, yes. As far as this case, I told you I have very little knowledge on it, so I'm limited on what I can tell you.
Are you going to take a closer look now?
Oh, I got to ask a little bit more, sure.
Will you?
Yeah.
And after you've had a chance to review it, will you get back in touch with us on the program?
No.
Why not?
Because it's, whatever's done is done. I'll ask my people what happened there and go from there. And I'm sure that the Tioga County officials are doing the same thing with their people. I worked narcotics for 25 years. I mean, they evidently had enough information to convince a judge, 2 judges, to sign search warrants, to do what they did. And what happened? Who knows? I say I've been there before when you come up dry, and other times you come up with a big hit.
Would a judge, say if the judge, obviously they deal, I mean, whether it's Judge Cawley or Judge Keene, they deal with the SIU people on a fairly regular basis. I mean, we hear, it's not uncommon during a week to hear 2 or 3 cases where the task force has made arrests, so and frequently they're based on execution of warrants that have been approved by judges. So do you think there's a chance that judges sometimes say, well, yeah, you've come here before with information from an informant, so yeah, what you say must be good enough, and they don't do possibly sufficient checking before they put their signature on the warrant?
I don't think so. I mean, the judges I've dealt with in the past, read every line, would tell you if you made a mistake or something should be corrected. I mean, I've had that done. Judge Cawley, was a defense attorney before he became a county judge. So if anybody's going to be looking at the other side, is Judge Cawley.
But at least you will look into this.
Yeah, I mean, I'll ask a little bit more about it when I get back.
And if it's appropriate, you can contact me.
Yeah.
I
have to use due caution.
I understand. I'm not oblivious to But how about this? If after a review and after you have looked a little further into the circumstances of the Dunlap case and you issue them any kind of apology, if you believe that is warranted, and you either speak with them directly or send them an apology. If that's the case, will you let me know?
Yeah, I saw in here someplace where they said the police came back and talked to him later on. I mean,
a week later, the detective.
The Dunlaps say, although 2 detectives paid a visit a week later. I mean,
including the detective named on the warrant, and then one of the other people from Broome County.
What was that discussion about then?
They were there to answer questions, and I guess they answered some questions, but nobody apologized.
Well, I guess, I'm not sure what you mean by an apology either, because if they went back, they must have felt that they owed these people an explanation as to what happened, and they sat down with them and went through it. Did they probably say, please forgive us? I doubt that, but they went back and tried to explain as to what happened and why they were there, and I think that's part of an apology.
All right. Well, look into it and use your judgment. I mean, you've been in law enforcement for a while now, so I'm sure. A
couple of years.
And I'm sure, unfortunately, this isn't the first such case, nor will it be the last with something like this happening.
No, and it's unfortunate. We don't like to do it any more than anybody else. We try to go into the bad guys' places only and not disturb innocent people. But sometimes that happens, and it's very unfortunate. And it gives us a bad name. That's why we don't like to do it.
Well, I'm sure this is not, obviously, no news release was put out about this particular.
No, you wouldn't, because there was no arrest made or anything else.
But one thing that upset them even more, the whole series of events over the course of about 3 hours was upsetting, but people on their street, it's a nice residential street, see all this activity, see the SWAT van and guys coming out in camo. The fire department, the Campville Fire Department, was put on standby. It's not unusual in a case where there's a concern that meth-making ingredients might be there and there could be a potential risk. And everybody down at the fire department knew, hey, we're going over to the Dunlaps, or we're at least on standby because of something going on there. So it's kind of, even though it wasn't on the news, within their circle of acquaintances and friends, at least people knew that there was police activity, and there was never anything that came out that said, oh, we did conduct a search and we found nothing, and so So it didn't go anywhere. So because even though it's not,
well, it may not have come out the way you wanted to, but I'm sure that the fire department was told, well, we found nothing, so you can secure things like that.
All right. Anything else you want to say on that?